Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back to my channel, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, for yet another episode of Fighting Fantasy Frolics and Fun. And today I am playing what is one of the thinnest books in the series, Deathmoor, Fighting Fantasy book number 55. So, I've heard some things about this book that made it sound like it isn't necessarily that great. It's one of those that are a little bit scarce, but also possibly not that much worth playing. We'll find out. I shouldn't really have too many preconceived notions about this. I always have the idea, anyway, that all the fighting fantasy books would at least have something about it that makes them worth trying out, at least, and something interesting about them. And I think that still holds true for all the ones that I have played. So I'm going to have a look at this one and see how that goes. Now, one of the reasons it is so thin, of course, is that the average paragraph length is shorter in this one than in many others, which could be an indication of a game structure that, or a narrative that isn't necessarily that rich. We'll see as we go along. So I'm going to change my view now to my desk. Got my supplies. I do have dice, as usual. I'm probably not going to use them. I do have my pen, although I need a new one because the blue color is almost empty. And what happens when it almost runs out is it starts leaking a little bit, or it gives off a little bit too much color, and then it smudges on the paper, and then it smudges on the book if you are playing a game book. So I'm going to have to avoid using blue today, and let's see how we get on from there. Anyway, so let's find out what's going on in this one. Robin Waterfield, Russ Nicholson again. Russ Nicholson seems to have done illustrations for some of these later ones. Russ Nicholson, of course, famously did Warlock of Firetop Mountain, but he also did, right at the tail end of the series, he did Mage Hunter and also Deathmoor now. And interestingly, the style of Russ Nicholson's artwork, I think, towards the end is a bit different than it was about how many years earlier? Let's see, this one is from 1994, so 12 years earlier for Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Okay. What it says here, you are an adventurer, an experienced battle-hardened warrior, a native of the seaport Chalanabrad in the old world. You are as familiar with the ways of the sea as with those of the land. In fact, you are resting on Takio, the northernmost of the Isles of Dawn, diving for scarlet pearls among the reefs and shoals, and sharks, when word reached you of a gathering of adventurers like yourself in the city of Arion, in distant Ku. Arion or Orion, maybe. Some great quest is clearly underway. But before you can travel to Arion and offer your services, you must find out whether your holiday has fully restored your powers. Yes, that's a good way to start it. Anyway, skill, stamina, and luck. I'm not going to do those. Battles, not going to do those either. Fighting more than one creature. Luck in battles. And equipment and potions. You have a pouch to hold some of your provisions and money. So you're starting with 10 meals, 20 gold pieces, and 1 scarlet pearl. And then you can take a potion. Yep. Adventure sheets, not using that. Okay, let's do the background. So, the western stretches of the Black Ocean are notorious for sudden squalls and storms. You pray to Haidana, god of waters, and beseech him to distract his brother. Haidana sounds like a girl, doesn't it? Well, him anyway. His brother Suk, the storm god, or at least to divert him to some other part of the world. Now, this is interesting because this is a kind of these deities here are the kind of things that it would have been nice to hear about through all the series. Whenever you are in an imagined universe, part of the world building, I think, and an important one, is things to do with religion and ritual, because these are so important things to anyone in a pre-high-tech age. I think it's the sort of high-tech world is one that is more likely to cause a kind of secularism to grow out. But until people even know what makes the sun move across the sky, and even quite a long time after that, the presence of divinities is something that everyone would take for granted. But one thing they wouldn't take for granted is how they approach those deities, how they respect them, what they do to worship them, revere them, appease them, of course, to avoid bad things happening. And this is such a big part of most cultures up until the present day that the omission of it from a fantasy world seems quite glaring to me now. So I can only presume that it's because the people who write game books generally aren't that religious, or they don't have a deep understanding of religion. I don't know. But it would have been nice with more world building elements like that all the way throughout the series. Anyway. Perhaps Haidana hears you, but Suk is a mighty god capable of manifesting his power in many places at once. At any rate, the Black Ocean lives up to its reputation. By being black, I presume. And also by having sudden squalls and storms. It takes you 5 days and nights to battle in your solo craft through the storm. At last, as the sun sinks in fire under the ocean, in the distance you glimpse the looming cliffs of the Rockwall Island in the southwest. Only 2 more days, then to Orion, if the weather holds. At noon on the 3rd day, you find a space in the crowded quays of Arion and make your way up the hill towards... I'm having a bit inconsistent pronunciation of the name Arion, Orion. Make your way up the hill towards the royal palace. Arion, or Orion, I suppose. By the way, the name famously is a character from Greek mythology who I can't remember the full story exactly how he ended up in the water, but he ended up in the water. Presumably his ship was shipwrecked or something like that, and he was saved by dolphins. I believe that is the story. There's a reference to it in one of Edmund Spenser's sonnets, which is when I had to look it up because I was writing a modernized version of Spenser's sonnets a while back. Also one of my books, by the way. I usually, when I promote my books, I usually talk about my poetry collections, but of course a while back I also did this one, Edmund Spenser, the sonnets modernized and annotated. So, of course, Edmund Spenser, if you are aware, is usually written in very strange, old-fashioned language. But of course, the language is just the spelling that's weird, really. And if you modernize the spelling, then of course it all makes more sense. So I thought that was something I would want to do, and I did. And interestingly, of course, when you modernize the spelling of Spenser, you realize that his poetry, a lot of it is quite naive in style and language. It actually is the old-fashioned, strange kind of spelling he uses that actually makes it look more clever than it is. Yeah. Anyway, he doesn't hold a candle to Shakespeare, actually. Not at all. Anyway, where am I? At noon on the 3rd day, you find a space in the crowded quays of Arion and make your way up the hill towards the royal palace. The city is as busy as usual, with people going about their daily business, but there is a curious listlessness about their actions. Your fame may gain you entry to the king and queen themselves. If not, the noble council of elders will tell you what is going on and the reason for the summoning of adventurers to Orion. Yeah, I'm doing it again. I'm doing different ones. King Jonthane and his sister Elegana The co-rulers of Orion are indeed only too glad. I'm going to try to stick with Orion, I think. Indeed, only too glad to hear of your arrival, and you do not have to wait long before you are summoned to the royal presence. If only you'd arrived yesterday, Queen Elegana exclaims as soon as you are standing before them. Or better, if only you had never left after your last visit here. When was it? 3 years ago? Closer to 4, milady, you reply, and you shudder at the memory of the evil you encountered then. But what can I do for you now? I'm wondering now, because I'm actually playing these books out of order at the moment. Is this... I'm going to ask the audience now, if because I'm not sure if I'm going to publish this out of order. If I'm publishing this out of order, what is the reference here? 3 years ago in Orion. Is this a reference to one of the earlier books that I've either not got to or that I have played but I can't remember? The name Orion in Fighting Fantasy does sound like I've heard it before, but I can't remember the context of it. Anyway, if you know, please leave a comment below. But what can I do for you now? Nothing, the king replies bluntly. I had to award the quest to another. Time is vital, you see. You weren't here, so I gave it to... He gulps before continuing. Fang Zhen of Jita. The king holds up his hand to forestall your protests. I know. He's a nasty piece of work, but even you have to admit that he's pretty good at what he does. And I had to choose the best available. It's my daughter, you see. Is that how the king speaks? Maybe it is. Over the next 10 minutes, the king stammers out his tale. His daughter, the Princess Royal Talessa, only 15 years of age, but already famed throughout Cool for her beauty and charm, had been kidnapped a few weeks before while out riding with some friends just north of the city. The kidnappers showed they meant business. The limbs of her friends had been hacked from their bodies and left on the ground in the form of a message. Wait. John Thane and Elegana of Orion are no fools, however. While seeming to await the kidnapper's message, they secretly sent out carrier pigeons in all directions. One of them found you on Takio. If it weren't for the storm, you'd have been here on time. No message arrived until 2 days ago, John Thane continues. I was so anxious. My precious, my Talessa. When it... My precious... Yes. When it came, it was no simple demand. They, whoever they are, for the message was unsigned, they want total control, forever, over the export of gold from the rich mines which Orion controls. Now, this is far from being our only export, but it is certainly a rich source of revenue. I have to, of course, he's so old-fashioned, he says revenue instead of revenue. I have to send a letter of agreement to the demand, signed with the royal seal, in the hands of a single messenger. The messenger is to travel due west of the city, alone until the kidnappers meet him. How will the kidnappers make themselves known to the messenger, you ask? Their message was accompanied by locks of Talessa's hair, crudely shorn with some blunt knife. Her hair is unmistakable, like fine-spun gold shot through with russet light. They will greet the messenger with more of her hair or with her head if the messenger fails to bring my letter or does not travel alone. You stay with the king and queen for some minutes more, offering to help in any way you can, but it is too late. Your rival Fang Zhen has the job. What did you offer him? You ask. Oh, the usual fee for such work, the king replies. Half our kingdom. When it is appropriate to do so, you leave the royal presence and wander back into town. Turn to 1. So, clearly in the beginning here, it's quite an unusual beginning in that the quest is actually not available. Which indicates there might be some kind of twist going on. Anyway, let's find out. We are on FF55. And I can feel a cold coming on, so I do apologize if I'm getting a bit sniffly. Also, it's a really damp, chilly day here. Which also, even at the best of times, makes my throat and nose a little bit mucousy. I do apologize in advance. Okay, looks like the black one is also getting a bit leaky. I'm going to not use this pen now. And go back to a good old-fashioned single color Bic. And if I need a pencil, I've got my... Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go with those instead, because I don't want smudges to get on my book, so yeah. Several hours and several taverns later, you find yourself in the dockland area of the city, in a seedy dive called the Barnacled Keel. Talking of barnacled keels, the warts on the barman's face. It seems that, however much you drink, the clearer your head becomes. The image of the beautiful young princess being manhandled by ruffians keeps appearing in your mind and makes you curse your bad luck in failing to reach Orion in time. Would you travel west out of Orion anyway to see if you can find Feng Zhen or the kidnappers, or would you stay in Orion? So, going out west and risking the kidnappers believing that more than one person has been sent sounds like a pretty bad idea. Unless you catch up with Feng Zhen before he gets close to where the kidnappers are, of course, which is a possibility. So 200 or 64. Okay, so 64. Stay in town, or 200. Go west. Go west, young man. I'm going to stay in town to see what there is to glean of information there. The noise in the bar is deafening. All you can hear is snatches of nearby conversation. No, it was you who said that to her, a young woman shrieks. 5 shinies? You must be joking, a sailor growls. Oh, my name's not Penn, the man talking to the barman says. Did you hear the one about the Alancian and the... Someone else says. Baron Den Snow, he's the evil son of a lizard who... Would you try to find a place to sit or leave and look for another tavern? Is this going to be quite a different one? Usually you have a dungeon crawl, but this one might actually be a tavern crawl. That would be something, wouldn't it? So 75, sit, or 222, another tavern, 222, other. I'm going to see if I can find a place to sit. You elbow your way through to the back of the room. Several faces in the crowd look vaguely familiar. Fellow adventurers, no doubt, come to Orion on the same mission as yourself and also trying to drown their disappointment in a flagon or two of ale. And there, sitting at a table with half a dozen empty flagons in front of him, is Feng Zhen himself. Huh. Surrounded by cronies. He looks flushed with ale, success, and his companions toadying praise. What the hell is he doing there if he's supposed to be out on a mission? Okay, so we have... Because he's supposed to have left a few days ago. 2, 6, 8, join, or 5. Right. I'm going to join the group at the table, see if I can find anything out. Lean over and whisper some extremely unpleasant threats into the ear of a small weasel-faced man at Feng Zhen's table, and he suddenly remembers an appointment elsewhere in town. Now that there's a stool available, you sit down. As soon as Feng Zhen spots you, he begins to taunt you. Oh, it's you, he sneers. Late as usual. The quest's mine, punk, and there's nothing you can do about it. What happened to make you late? Did you get doped by some sleeping grass, or did the milksop child of a weakling sprite fight you in the pawn shop? Will you respond to his taunts with insults of your own, or get up and walk away? Okay. Actually, it would have been enough to walk away and just report him to the king, wouldn't it? You'd think. 161. I'm actually a bit curious what kind of insults you come up with, though. Walk away or insults. So I'm going to see what kind of insults I can come up with now. Wrong again, Fang Zan, you reply. It's just that I nearly died laughing at some tales of your attempts at wizardry. When that shape change spell backfired and turned you into a goblin, what are you going to get changed? When are you going to get changed back again? I'd stick to thuggery if I were you and leave the intellectual stuff to others. His face darkens with rage and he starts to rise from his seat. Sit down, you laugh. Can't you take a joke? He settles back down, but there is a dangerous gleam in his eye. Now, you continue. How about a game of pinfinger? Test your luck. If you're lucky, turn to 132. Why they always have to play pinfinger in fantasy stories? What is it? It's about, yeah. 132 or 87. Oh, hang on. 87, that's another one. Okay. So, lucky. I'm going to presume I am lucky, because I am, and go to here. You both spread your non-fighting hands on the table, and people at the table produce daggers for you. You place your bets and start to stab the point of the knife between your spread fingers. The game speeds up, but you keep pace with each other. The onlookers roar their approval as the silver blades begin to blur with speed. You are now so much into the rhythm of the game that you coolly dare to lift your eyes up from your hand and stare at Feng Zun. This unnerves him. He tries to meet your gaze, but his eyes are constantly flicking back down to the table. All of a sudden, blood spurts. Roll 2 dice. If total is less than or equal to your skill, I'm going to say that I'll succeed that. So let's see, I'm going to remove that. So 93 and 317. Skill or fail. You win. The blood is spurting from a gash in Feng Zun's hand. You had wagered 6 gold pieces. Do I know that now? Didn't seem to get much of a choice in the matter, did I? But Feng Zun now confesses that he is broke. Didn't he get paid some in advance or something? How is he going to be broke? He's been drinking heavily for the last few days, it looks like. Maybe people have been buying him drinks because he got the quest that he was supposed to have been on. One of the few points of honor among thieves is never welching on a bet. The others at the table scowl and sneer at Feng Zun and start to draw clubs and knives. You had better give me the letter then, you say, and Feng Zun has no choice. He reluctantly pulls King John Thane's letter out of his pouch and passes it across the table to you. The quest is now yours. You notice the royal seal with its intertwined snakes looking like the number 88. So there is a little hint of 88. Or clue, rather. So 317. Seal 88. Before you tuck the letter safely away, test your luck. Okay. Again, so that's 2 luck checks in quite a short succession. That means that there should really be some ways of regaining luck points quite shortly as well, if this is the correct path. 337 or 353. Unlucky or lucky? I think I need some days, and probably it's because it's cold and I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today. Some days I just need reading glasses. It just feels easier to read. And this is one of those days. So, there you go. So I'm not going to go to 337. You shove your way through the crowd, who give way in awe at your exploits. Those who did not know you already are asking others your name. Restore 1 luck point. There you go. So that's 1 luck point already. Which makes sense in this case. The barman catches your eye and beckons you over. Will you go and see what he wants or not? Well, I'm not too famous to snub a barman who has information for me. I mean, even if he just wants my autograph, I mean, seriously, I think this would be a good time to let him have it. 384. And I shall avoid calling him Barnacle Face to his Barnacle Face, I guess, as well. So bar, go. So I'm going to go over to the bar and see what the deal is. As you reach the bar, the landlord is bidding farewell to the man he'd been talking to. All you hear him say is the end of the man's name. Gal. Okay, this is going to be important. This is a hint. So 23. Gal. See you then. He turns to you and demands 1 gold piece for the knife marks you made on his tabletop. Will you pay? Or point out that the rest of his furniture is hardly less scarred and battered. You know what? I am going to pay him 1 gold piece. That's the kind of guy I am. Although actually the previous paragraph when it's talked about honor among scoundrels kind of thing, it sounds like you're not really that kind of guy. You actually sound like someone who's in it for the money, let's say. So someone who is actually selfish and self-indulgent and all that stuff. Because the thing is that someone who's a really noble soul, they wouldn't be doing this kind of thing for any rewards. They'd just be doing it because they were doing the right thing. So 48 pay or 145. So I'm going to pay, go to 48. Deduct 1 gold piece from adventure sheet. You now leave the tavern, go to 384. Okay. Will you now head west out of the city to begin your quest, or stay in Orion for a while? Turn to 222. So staying is the same as going to another tavern in the beginning here. Now, of course, there is a possibility that going to another tavern will give me clues now as to whether there's... I mean, this is obviously something that could be an inside job. Usually is an inside job when somebody gets kidnapped in the royal household. Certainly, it always seems thus in fighting fantasy. I'm going to do 1 more tavern stop in part of this tavern crawl and see if that can give me any other information that might be useful to me. Okay. You turn into Creelmaker's Alley and see 2 more taverns further along, on opposite sides of the street. If you do not have the royal letter which the king and queen gave Feng Zun, you now feel that your task is hopeless and that you ought to start again, or perhaps go in search of another adventure, like grabbing another book. Otherwise, you may as well carry on drinking now that you have started. Would you go to the Bushel on the right or Elfbane Bar on the left? I'm actually, it's a bit strange that it actually tells you that, because now you're not given any options that actually have anything to do with whether you had the letter or not. Or in a way, it actually tells you that if you don't have the letter by now, this is not going to work out. Go and do something else or start over again. Which also hopefully indicates that doing this is something that will be useful to me when I have the letter. Okay, so I'm perhaps reading too much into it now, but that is my take on it. So 189, Elfbane, or the Bushel. I'm going to go to the Bushel. The Bushel is a rather upmarket establishment where the bar girls wear uniforms and the seats are covered in mock lizardine leather. Entry is 2 gold pieces. What would you have? How can you have mock leather? How can you have mock leather in a world where you don't have plastic? I suppose one thing that, of course, you could have before you had mock leather is you could take cowhide and you can imprint it with different patterns to try to mimic other kinds of leather. I'm sure that is something that was actually done possibly before. I'm not sure that is a pre-industrial process, though. I think that's quite a recent thing because you need sort of dye stamps, pattern stamps, and hydraulic presses and stuff. Yeah, no, I don't think that would be a thing. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to call that one of the rare anachronisms you get in fighting fantasy. I do apologize. Nose is getting blocked. Okay. Entry is 2 gold pieces, but thereafter the food and drinks appear to be free. You can pay and go in, or go to the bar across the road instead, or call it a day. Okay. There is a missing option now, which is to go west after all. And go to 200. Yeah. Okay. 233. 388. Okay, so I think I'm going to enter 233. Deduct 2 gold pieces from your adventure sheet, but restore up to 4 lost stamina points because of the food you eat in the bushel. Okay, so it is possible to have been in an actual fight by then, in that case. After eating, you take time to look around the rest of the clientele. Raised voices attract your attention to a group at one of the tables. Guarded by a couple of henchmen who are at least half Trawl, a couple of swarthy, well-to-do criminals have been treating their girlfriends to a night out, but it looks as though officers from the city guard have tracked them down and are questioning them. You accuse me of arranging murder, you hear one of the men shout. We are just honest plumbers, eh, Igiul? Right, Oiram, the other man agrees. So, obviously they're using... these are Italians in that case. Igiul, that's Luigi, and Oiram, that's Mario backwards. So these are actually the... oh god. I just realized it's a pop cultural reference to the Mario brothers who are plumbers, Mario and Luigi. Right. So Mario Brothers of Nintendo fame. Luigi, we are just honest plumbers. Hey, Igiul. Right, Oiram, the other man agrees. We've been here all evening. There are plenty of witnesses. Just look around. Will you stay here to be questioned by the guards? Or leave, knowing that as you've only just arrived in the bar, you cannot help them. If you leave, you can either pop into the bar across the road or call it a day. But there's still no option to go west again, which is really weird to me. So, so we have 189, 388, or stay 283. I'm going to stay now because I'm curious what's going on. What's going on, you ask the guard who has come to your table. There's been a murder on the other side of town, the guard replies. A business rival of these two villains over there was conveniently trampled by a horse. No witnesses, and our only clue is a bit of torn handkerchief, which the victim was clutching. A name pops into your mind. You think you might have overheard who the murderer may be. Will you say Anfold, Trigal, Marinus, Pengal, Elfbane, or Penfold? Now, I know that there's a Gal, but is it Pengal or Twigal? How am I supposed to know? Maybe the only way to know is to have been in. No, but already I heard somebody say something pen, didn't I? In when I was overhearing all the loose conversations in the beginning of going into the tavern. I've already heard pen, so Pengal must be the right one, possibly. I'm gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 options anyway. There is actually, yeah, there is actually a missing option here. Is to say that you don't know, because why would you come up with a random name like this without a good reason? See, if I didn't have an inkling now of any names, I wouldn't have said anything. 91, 3, 5, 2, 9, 4. Unfold. Twigal. Marinus. Pengal. Elfbane. Or Penfold. So I'm going to go with Pengal 90 and see if that is indeed the correct one. The guard says, "Oh yes, we know him, and he regularly works for those two over there. You could have been a great help. Come to our station first thing tomorrow morning. You'll find me in room 56. Take a note of the number. If your information has led to an arrest, there'll be something in it for you. We now go to the Elfbane bar across the road, or call it a day." So 388, or you can go down to the Elfbane as well. And also in 90 here. 56. Room 56. I'm going to check out the Elfbane bar as well. It seems like I've been able to exhaust my options here with Luigi and Mario, the plumbers. Well, shouldn't they be out rescuing the princess or something? I mean, they should be the ones out rescuing the princess. Okay, so we have two weird things in this game so far. We have plumbers called Mario and Luigi, and we have faux lizardine skins. We've got a few weird things. I really hope they don't make a habit of doing this too much, because the thing about these sort of popular culture references in a fantasy setting is that while they are entertaining, they also break immersion with the narrative and the world, and therefore they really, really, really should not be there. That's just my honest opinion. 189. A skein of geese in V formation wings its way overhead as you turn into the bar. Maybe this is a good omen. You sit on a high stool at the bar and try to engage the landlord in conversation, but he is too busy to do more than grunt. Mind you, your neighbor tells you that that's the most intelligent comment he's heard from the landlord in years. You swivel around on your stool to survey the scene. At that moment, a vile-looking old crone walks into the bar, clutching some withered sprigs of heather. She is clearly a well-known figure, because she hardly has time to utter, "By my lucky heather," before the landlord has hustled her out through the door, prodding her with the brush end of a broom. Will you follow the horrid crone out into the street, or investigate the gambling wheel at the back of the tavern? It sounds like this is a place where you might be able to win some money. 28. Gambling. So I'm not really interested in that. Although it is possible, of course, that you might run out of money at some point. So Chrome. I'm going to check out the Chrome. You step out along the cobbled street until you catch up with the ghastly hag. "Here," you say, "I'll buy some of your heather. How much is it?" You find her price of 1 gold piece outrageous, but she insists that the heather is really lucky. Will you pay her price or not? So 388. If you don't pay the price, that is calling it the day. Or you can pay 1 gold piece and turn to 83. I'm obviously going to buy it because it might come in handy. Cross 1 gold piece off your adventure sheet. The hag bites the coin to make sure it is genuine before scuttling off down a back alley. You wait for something to happen, but nothing does. You hurl the crumbling heather onto the ground in anger. Seriously? If it is lucky heather, it's not going to be do anything right away. You just keep it with you, and it. What utter nonsense! A scratch at the bite of one of the crone's countless lives has already given you 2388. Okay, that's a bit daft. I mean, it's a daft action to perform there. If you buy something that is purported to be lucky heather, you keep it and wait for the luck to come. It's like, I mean, if you have a lucky rabbit's foot, do you get the foot and 2 seconds later expect magic to happen? No, you keep it with you. If you have a lucky penny, do you spend it because it didn't do anything? Nope, no, you keep it. Anyway. Return to your boat for the night. In the early hours of the morning, 2 fish-like shapes pull themselves over the side of your boat. Scarlet pearls are sacred to Pelagines, and they have sent a raiding party to recover the one you stole, as they see it, from Takio. Under their law, this crime is punishable by death. Pelagines are an amphibious race, equally at home on land or underwater. Their fish-like heads belie cunning and intelligence, and the scales that cover their humanoid bodies are like armor plating. You can inflict only 1 stamina point of damage on them unless you use luck 2 in each attack round that you win. The male wields a trident while the female advances, tossing a coral-handled dagger from one hand to the other. In the narrow confines of your cabin, they have to approach one at a time. If you win, you decide to stay awake for the rest of the night. In the morning, will you leave Orion to seek out Telesa's kidnappers, or will you remain in the city for a while longer? Now, I think I'm getting close to overstaying my welcome in the city, possibly. Oh, actually, I do want to stay longer because I need to go to the police station and check out room 56. Okay. So I'm going to stay a bit longer. Excuse me. Assuming you have nothing better to do, will you go to the marketplace or hang around the docks? Is that a hint, assuming you have nothing better to do, subtle hint that you are supposed to use your clue and go to room 56, I think. Marketplace 150 or docks 171. Okay. This I'm going to go to 56 now, because that is what I am hinted at to do, very subtly, by the way. Bonus points for that. You present yourself at the guardsman's office. Good work, he says. Good observation. Your one-eyed chappie broke down, with a little help from our resident torturer, and confessed. Anytime you want a job, just come and talk to me. In the meantime, you can choose one of these 3 rewards. Truth Stone, 25 gold pieces, or a shield. I'm going to put these up here. Shield, 25 gold pieces, or Truth Stone. The Truth Stone sounds absolutely the coolest of these things. I'm going to go with the Truth Stone and go to 95. The Truth Stone can be used once and once only. Listen very carefully. I can use this only once. It glows with an unearthly blue light which forces a creature with any intelligence, that is, not a plant or a rock, for instance, to tell the truth. Now turn to 357. You can now either go to the marketplace or hang around the docks. Okay, so no option to just get going now, which is a bit strange, but I'm going to check out the docks. The dockland area is a great place for gathering information. Boats put in here from all over Cool and even from other continents. As an experienced sailor yourself, you have no difficulty in being accepted by a group of gnarled fishermen who are mending nets on one of the quays. You pass a time of day together discussing the weather before you turn to matters of wider interest, but the group is beginning to disperse. The tide is right for sailing. You can ask them if they know anything about Princess Telesa's kidnap, where you can find some more scarlet pearls, whether Fungzun has left Orion yet, or what they know about the gold mining business. Okay. Putting the options up there. So we have 1, 2, 2, 3, 6, 4. At least I don't have to ask about Fungzun. So gold, Fungzun, scarlet pearls. So the mention of scarlet pearls here indicates to me that maybe these scarlet pearls are going to be important later on. And maybe you need more than one. Kidnap. So obviously the obvious choice is to ask about the kidnapping, see if there's any information about that to be gleaned from these good folk. Two other fishermen look at each other. We can't help you, one of them says, but we know a man who can. You'd better visit Baron den Schnau. He has a finger in every evil pie in northeast Cool, if you ask me. They give you directions to the Baron's mansion. If you think it's worth visiting the Baron, turn to 273. Otherwise, you can visit the marketplace if you still need to. Or leave Orion and go in search of the kidnappers. Need to. That is an interesting turn of phrase, I think. Need to. Why would I need to go to the marketplace? Is there something there? Is there something I learned that I will need to get from the marketplace before I go? Maybe. I'm going to go visit the Baron 273. Does that indicate to me that yeah, well, I was just wondering if you could ask more than one question of the sailors, but they were about to go, so that indicates to me that you can only ask one question. You wait until evening before making your way to the Baron's mansion, in which time you could have gone to the marketplace. Now, that doesn't make any sense at all, does it? As you figure that he's more likely to be in then, you also hope that the dark of night will enable you to move around more safely. The mansion is in the grand part of town where narrow alleys and busy streets and squares give way to leafy lanes and even the occasional field and copse. One such copse is unfortunately infested with gutter lags, hyena-like scavengers which live in the suburbs but come down into the towns and cities at night to forage among the sewers for scraps of meat. Individually, they prefer their meat cold and putrid, but a pack of gutter lags, such as the one that is sneaking through the trees towards you, will attack live meat like yourself. You can fight the pack as if it were a single enemy, because once you have killed a few of them, the rest will scatter and slink back into the trees. But you cannot possibly defend yourself against all of them at once, and every even-numbered attack round you must reduce your stamina by 1 point, whatever else happens during that round. Well, I'm going to win that regardless, so win. You are extra careful for the rest of your trek up to the Baron's house. The yellow sandstone of the mansion seems warm and welcoming in the glow of the late sun. The house is surrounded by a high wall. You can either pose as a businessman and approach the front gate boldly, or you can look for another way in. Okay. I'm going to pose as a businessman. I am here on business. There is a wide courtyard between the gates and the front of the house. You notice a small gatehouse just inside the gates. It must be for a porter. So you rattle the wrought iron gates and call out, "Hello, is anyone there?" A suspiciously orc-like porter sticks his head out of the gatehouse and snarls, "What do you want?" You haven't finished explaining that you are a businessman who wants to see the Baron when he interrupts by asking whether you have an appointment. Will you say yes or no? If in doubt, always say yes. When it comes to whether you have an appointment or not, that is to say. So 297 or 323. No, yes. So I'm going to say I have an appointment, 297. That was stupid. If you do have to tell lies, you should at least make them less easy to see through. The orcish porter glances at the diary and sees no entry under your name, or whatever name you have given him. You may be able to bribe your way in, however, if you offer him 4 gold pieces, or you can leave and look for another way in. Okay. I'm going to presume now that I'm going to be running out of gold soon, so I'm going to have to find another way in, I think. Excuse me. The wall surrounding the Baron's house offers an unbroken barrier. There are no side doors. You can either return to the main gate if you haven't already failed to get in that way, or you can try to climb the wall. On the western side, the Baron's house runs very close to the wall for some distance. To the south, the garden may give you cover once you're in the grounds. Will you climb the western wall or the southern wall? Okay. I'm going to have to move my options away now. I still think that it would make sense map-wise here to stay on this page, because I still have to get back to 200 at some point. And some other of these options possibly as well. I might cycle back to them. 185 west or 60 south. So garden or the one that's close to the house. I might be able to climb in through an upstairs window or something. I'm going to do the western wall. Test your luck. Okay. If you're lucky, you make it to the top of the wall unharmed. If you're unlucky, you fall awkwardly and twist your ankle. Then start again and continue. There's a dank narrow path between the wall and the house. You can jump from an upper window ledge of the house, turn to 158, or you can let yourself down into the passage where you may go southwards towards the Baron's garden. Or you can head north towards the front door of the house. So 3 options. Let's going to put those up there. So 114 front door. 366 garden, or 158 jump. Okay. So I was thinking jump, of course, when I chose this particular section of wall in the first place. So I'm going to try to jump. Okay. 5, it's 8, isn't it? Yeah. Your hands grasp the window ledge and are lacerated by tiny slivers of glass which the Baron thoughtfully cemented here. You crash heavily to the ground and lose 2 stamina points, so this is a one shouldn't do. You can now make your way south towards the Baron's garden, or you can head north towards the front door. So it sounds like, yeah, it doesn't really make a huge difference whether you go south or west in that case, because presumably if you go south, you get into the garden anyway, or you get the same choices of going to the garden or the front door. I'm going to do the garden side. You reach the corner of the house and reconnoiter the whole expanse of the rear of the house. A smooth, well-trodden earth path runs along its length, bizarrely littered with the corpses of birds. You don't know what to make of this. The ground floor windows are all securely locked, so there are only 2 ways to enter the house here. You could climb up some old sturdy ivy and break in through an upper window, or you could lift the hatch door, which appears to lead to a cellar. So, now, from personal experience, I would claim that ivy is very strong stuff. Now, I had the pleasure of trying to remove ivy from a garden not that long ago, and I can tell you it's really hard. Even the quite thin strands of ivy are very strong. But it's almost impossible to get rid of if you have it as an unwanted species of plant in your garden, because they crisscross all along the ground and then they climb up everywhere. It's really tough stuff, I must say. So 3-8 window or 2-4-2 cellar. I'm going to check out the cellar. Do you have any sallow seed oil? If you have, turn to 164, otherwise turn to 229. Okay, interesting. $164 or 229. Sallow seed. As you cautiously lift one half of the double-doored hatch, the rusty hinges let out an awful creak. You wait a few moments, then the lamp flares in the downstairs window, bathing some of the garden in light. Will you run down the side passage? 114. Didn't I have that one before? Yes. Or stay where you are. I'm going to go down the side passage then. 114. Roll 2 dice. Skill test. Okay. I'm going to succeed, of course. I'm reducing away all the randomness of these books now. You sneak safely to the front of the house. No one stirs in the gatehouse at the far end of the courtyard. As you turn the handle of the front door and it opens noiselessly on well-oiled hinges. Turn to 197. So it seems that thing about going west is almost like a red herring. And the only thing you realize really quickly if you go west, presumably, is that you should have stayed in town, which is where most of the adventure seems to be taking place. Well, now, even in the first paragraph, you could choose to go west, paragraph 200, and you could choose it here, and you could choose it here, and probably after doing some more stuff here, you can choose it again. And clearly you have to do a lot of stuff here now before even considering it. You are in the entrance hall of the Baron's mansion. A wide staircase leads to the upper floors, and there are doors off the hall to rooms on the ground floor. However, Baron den Schnau himself has been alerted to your presence, and he is standing a little way up the staircase looking down at you. "What do you want, stranger?" he demands. You reply curtly, "Information." Would you simultaneously rush at him up the stairs or stand your ground? Well, if I stand my ground, he might have guards coming. Stairs, stand. I'm going to rush at him up the stairs. 395. Roll 1 dice. If you roll an even number, turn to 286. 286 or 257. Odd. Even. Okay, that's one of those things I can roll for. There's no indication really of what's good or bad. Even number, 286. On your way up towards the Baron, you step on a second stair. This was a mistake, you realize, in the brief time it takes you to drop 10 meters or so onto the spikes embedded in the ground below. End. Okay. So, that concludes my first session. How am I for time? Can I keep going? Yes. Let's pretend for a moment I got the odd number in that case. Just to see if that's a... I can just keep going, really, and save my gaming all the time and stuff. So 257. The Baron is surprised by your attack. He was expecting you to spring a trap he has set into the second stair, but he leapt over it. So he hasn't even drawn his sword or tried to escape. Your charge ends with you headbutting him in the stomach. He doubles up in pain and jumps down to the foot of the stairs. You leap down after him again, luckily avoiding the trap, while he draws his sword. Turn to 72 to fight him, but first reduce his stamina by 1 point since you have winded him. Now that's not very interesting at all, is it? Oops, that's the wrong color now. Go away. So 72. In this fight, beware the Baron's sword, which is dipped in poison. He only has to nick you for the poison to enter your bloodstream. If you are wounded twice, you are dead. If you are wounded only once, you are strong enough to withstand the poison, but your provisions will restore only 3 points to your stamina for the rest of the adventure. That's quite a nice little variation on the combat mechanic there, as well as something that is has a bearing on the rest of the adventure. I quite like that. 119. The Baron lies dying on the floor, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth and bubbling with his final breaths. Will he now leave the house or question the Baron? Of course I'm going to question him. That's the whole point. That's why I'm here. I'm not here to kill him. 244. Leave or question. Do you have a truth stone? Ah, so this is where it comes in handy, of course. If you do and wish to use it, turn to 264. I think this is exactly the place where the truth stone was meant to be used. Truth or no truth? 303. You take out the truth stone, and in its eerie light you see the cruelty of years etched on the Baron's face as clearly as if you were reading a map or a book. Cross the truth stone off your adventure sheet and turn to 303. Okay. That wasn't very useful. You kick the Baron's sword out of reach, so that doesn't sound like it's very useful at all in that case. You kick the Baron's sword out of reach and bend over. I mean, the structure of the game now should have made you think that it made a difference, even if it didn't, I think. You kick the Baron's sword out of reach and bend over him. Quickly, you hiss, "What do you know about Princess Telissa's kidnap?" So that's what this is about, the Baron gasps. Arachnos has her beneath Deathmoor. I made all the arrangements for him. Once he has Orion, King Jonathan Thane, no choice. The Baron is... Oh, that's not very good voice acting there, is it? So that's what this is about. Arachnos has her beneath Deathmoor. I made all the arrangements for him. Once he has Orion, King Jonathan, no choice. The Baron is fading fast, but he rallies himself just enough to spit out the words. For this information you have killed me, but I'm glad to give it since it will kill you. No one gets out of Deathmoor alive. He struggles up to a half-sitting position and purses his lips. You step back, fearing he is going to spit at you. Yeah, that's really scary, isn't it? Yeah, I fear he's going to spit at me. But instead, he emits a shrill whistle. You hear a loud rustling sound and look up to see a dozen of the largest vampire bats you have ever seen boiling out of the roof towards you. Will you stand and fight or not? Arachnos has her beneath Deathmoor. Is this useful information? Doesn't sound very useful to me. It sounds like something I would have found out in lots of other possible ways. 13020. My stand. Oh no. I'm going to stand and fight because maybe I'll still be able to get something out of him afterwards. Or not. The odds are too great, even for a great warrior like yourself. You fall to the ground, blood oozing from scores of wounds. Your adventure is over. Okay, so I'm going to not stand and fight in that case. Yeah, going back to my save game again. Still only an hour into this, so I can do a bit longer. You race for the front door and slam it shut behind you. You can't go back in there. Not even you can take on so many bats at once. You sprint across the courtyard for the main gates, but they are locked. If you bribe the porter to get in, turn to 280. Otherwise, we have to bribe him to get out then. What's the use, huh? So 280 or 251. 251 bribed or not. I did not bribe him to get in, so let's see how that affects getting out. You will have to fight the orcish porter before you can get out. If you win, you find a bunch of keys in his gatehouse, and you waste no time in unlocking the gates and escaping back into the city. 3, 5, 9. So 6, 6. Okay. That was a bit of a waste of time, wasn't it? As you make your way back down into the poorer districts of Orion, it all begins to make sense. Arachnos, the life stealer, is up to his old evil ways again. Centuries ago, in the far northeastern promontory of Kuul, there stood a fair and prosperous trading city called Faleha. Arachnos gradually made himself master of all this revenue. Monetary gain was not his purpose, though he certainly needed to pay the increasing numbers of his servants, soldiers, and minions. Arachnos is a creature of chaos. He must sow chaos and evil wherever he goes, and unlike the usual thugs you come across in your adventures, he is intelligent enough to pursue more subtle plans for spreading evil. That, not wealth, is his pleasure. Now, it looks as though he has set his sights on Orion. He wants to manipulate the trade in gold until he controls enough of Orion to bring King Jonthane to his knees. No doubt his plans will not stop at controlling just northern Kul. He plans to set up an empire of evil. There is no further time to waste. You resolve to be the one to put an end to his foul plans. You set off to westwards, out of the city, to meet the kidnappers. Turn to 200. So, all that stuff, and now you're back to the option that actually was right there at the beginning to go west, which clearly needs to be on the next page. 200. So it's a good thing I didn't take that one first, because it would have messed up my map a little bit. So yeah, FF55 number 2. Three days later, you are still walking towards the west. There has been no sign of the kidnappers, though occasionally you have felt yourself being watched. If you have King Jonthane's letter, the royal seal will show you where to go. Aha! Okay, that's a good way to do it. So there's very little time wasted. That means actually this is one of the few games where you can actually die, or your game might be over just on your first choice. Because if in the beginning you choose to go to 200, that's you, game over right away. Of course, your threshold for starting over again is very low, and it's very easy to know that you're not going there again. The royal seal will show you where to go in order to meet the kidnappers. So 88. If you have come here without the letter, you have failed. Your action will cause the death of the beautiful and innocent princess, as King Jonthane warned you at the very start. So we are going to 88 because we know we have the letter. We are the approved messenger of the king, as it were, because we have the seal. A sturdy half-giant steps out from behind some boulders. That reminds me of the Princess Bride, of course, and Fezzik, the giant, famously played by the late great Andre the Giant. Of course, he liked hanging around the boulders as well, because he liked throwing rocks, and that's actually something that was described better in the book than in the film. In fact, there were a few things to do with the background of the characters is something that is actually often, I find when I read the book that's made into a film, that is missing from the film. You get a lot of background both for the giant and also for Inigo Montoya. Of course, you get some of Inigo Montoya's background in the film, because he tells a story to the masked man. Wesley, of course, we don't know that at the time. What happened with his father and the sword. But of course, that's not the whole story. And the same with Fezzik. He has a lot of backstory as well. How he was so big by the time he was like 8 or something. He was fighting others and winning. And one of his things was he liked throwing boulders, or big rocks at people. So basically, the plan was when he was in wait for the masked man to just throw a rock at him. And but of course, that's not how they did it in the film. I think they did it a bit differently. Anyway, a sturdy half-giant steps out from behind some boulders. I am Otis, he says. You have something for me, I believe. A letter. Once he has shown you a lock of the princess's golden hair, you hand over King Jonthane's letter of agreement. As the half-giant reads the letter, his face lights up with dark malice. Good, he declares at last. My brothers and my master Arachnos will be pleased. If you've heard the name Arachnos before, okay, so maybe it was important to go to the Baron's house then in that case. It sounds like maybe, because now obviously it makes a change to which paragraph you go to. Although of course your character knows the name Arachnos from before. In this game, of course, you will have had to get that reference to Arachnos. You need to have been to the Baron's house, it looks like. So Arachnos. So 137. So I'm going to 137 and see here. You wait here now, says Otis, jabbing a finger as thick as 2 ordinary fingers into your chest. I return with the princess in 2 days. Will you do as he says, or not? So, I'm a bit unsure now. Does knowing about Arachnos mean that I now should presume that he will not honor anything, and therefore I should not wait there for 2 days because he will just kill the princess anyway? I think maybe. So I'm going to not wait and see how that works out. Stealthily you follow Otis at a safe distance. Once he half turns his head as if sniffing the air, and you have to duck down behind a fallen tree trunk, your heart in your mouth. After that you let him get further ahead. It is clear that he is making for Deathmoor, a region of legendary harshness into which no man within living memory has travelled and survived to tell the tale. Once, long ago, it was home to an advanced civilization, wise in the ways of the stars. Now it is a chill place of cruel, strange beasts and swirling magical mists, the residue of the sorcerous battle which caused the downfall of that ancient culture. Folks say that when the mist descends, the traveler's sense of direction is utterly ruined. This is going to happen to me at some point during the game. Until only luck and common sense can bring one through. And this is where you would need your lucky heather, isn't it? Your lucky heather. You can wave it and you can find your direction in the mist. Maybe. Oh yeah, you light it up and then the smoke, you follow the smoke. Yeah, that's lucky heather for you. It will be very hard to track Otis through Deathmoor, but you are confident of your abilities. Suddenly a pheasant rises with a noisy clatter of wings from some tall grass to your left. Otis is too far ahead to hear it, but you wheel in that direction just in time to see a dark shape hurtle towards you. Test your luck. Okay. 187 and 97. Lucky. I'm going to be lucky again, although I have used several luck points now. So your luck really would have been running down at this point if you'd followed the same path that I have, and of course you are at the point where it's quite likely you are going to fail luck rolls. I forgot actually, I actually had a cup of tea today, and I usually mention that. I do have a nice cup of tea because, well, saving the world and all that. Normally I mention it at the start of my video and I keep forgetting. Anyway, although it all happens too fast for your conscious mind, you somehow register the fact that the dark shape is Feng Zun, and that he has hurled a spear at you. You fall to the ground, and the spear ricochets of a rock snaps and falls harmlessly to the ground. Then Feng Zun himself is upon you, seeking revenge for the theft of his quest. Actually, I didn't steal it, I just won it fair and square. He was being a bit of a bastard anyway. He is a hardy adventurer too, and his skill is only 2 less than yours, while his stamina is 12. Only luck will see you through this fight unscathed. Well, yes, which is why I'm not going to roll the dice, is it? So, 30. Regain 1 luck for surviving. Plus 1 luck. For surviving a difficult fight. Moreover, you find 4 gold pieces on Feng Zun's body, 4 gold. Together with 3 portions of provisions and a lamp. But all this is small compensation for the fact that by the time you try to pick up Otis's trail again, it has gone cold. It is as if he has vanished into thin air. It is now evening, so you decide to rest for the night. There is a village called Outpost. Oh, that's a good name. A short way to the north, and the edge of a great forest lies to the south. Will you seek shelter in Outpost, or in the forest, or will you stay out in the open? Now, going to Outpost, that's a bit risky, isn't it? I mean, the Arachnos might have minions there who will inform him of me being on... Oh, actually, they wouldn't know who I am. He wouldn't know who I am. The people there wouldn't know who I am. Open, forest, or outpost. I'm going to check out the outpost. The inhabitants of Outpost lock up early and are deeply suspicious of strangers. Shutters are closed with a bang as you walk down the only street. You get the message, we don't want your kind here. Will you turn around and retrace your steps, or persist in trying to spend the night here? If you stay, turn to 102. If you leave, the forest is too far away to reach before nightfall, and you must spend the night in the open. So that leads me to think that maybe the forest would have been the best place for some reason. So I'm going to go in the open in that case, 278. Or shall I retrace? Shall I just redo my my previous choice and go for the forest? Yeah, I'm being flexible today, and I hope you don't mind, but I'm using my finger bookmarks. And yeah, that's not a great thing either. You penetrate a little way into the forest, far enough to be safely away from the open ground, but not too far, because in the twilight the deepest parts of the forest are frightening. And you are right to be frightened. Had you gone any further, you would have never have got out alive, for this forest hates intruders, just like Outpost. You will get out eventually, but not before you have sustained 2 points of damage to your stamina as a result of being lashed by branches. So I'm going to say that this is also the wrong one, -2 stamina. It's too late now to make for the village, so you will have to camp out in the open. All roads seem to lead to being out in the open. Although you plan to stay awake all night, the warmth from your campfire makes you drowsy, and your head begins to nod forward onto your chest. Roll 1 die. I rolled a 2. So we have 2, 3, 5, and 3, 2, 3, 5, 3, 7, 1, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4 to 6. 2, 3, 5 in that case. Yes. You are deeply asleep, but you suddenly wake up with a start. What was that? You can hear a snuffling sound to your left, and you leap up to confront a lone timber wolf, which has been feasting on the provisions from your backpack. Her eyes glint red in the firelight, and her defense is savage, because back in her den, her hungry cubs are anxiously awaiting her return. Timberwolf. So, 6/8. When you find that she has eaten half your remaining provisions, blah blah blah, you doze fitfully for the rest of the night, and in the morning you try to pick up Otis's trail. Turn to 216. You make slow progress because you are spending time backtracking, looking for blades of crushed grass, overturned pebbles, broken twigs, anything that might show which way Otis went. By mid-morning you have progressed only a kilometer or 2, and you stop to rest in the shade of a stand of oaks. You decide your best bet will be to enter dread Deathmoor and explore, since that is obviously where Otis was making for. By noon of the following day you have reached the edge of Deathmoor. You are now confronted by a fast-flowing river whose surface is covered in scum and putrid fish. You need to find a way across the river. You can follow it upstream to the north or downstream to the south. And there's no indication, of course, which of these 2 options is the correct one. Usually rivers get wider as they go further downstream, but of course they also tend to run more slowly. So down, up. I'm going to go upstream. This will, of course, take you towards the source of the river's pollution. Yeah, I suppose that was a hint, wasn't it? The stench in the afternoon sun is appalling. Short of this intertext graphic is huge in this one. So despite being quite a small book, this is actually quite a bad balance for a text in a game book. Anyway, the stench in the afternoon sun is appalling. Short of swimming, which you will also would have looked nicer if the paragraph was at the top and the graphic was at the bottom. So this is actually the wrong layout. Short of swimming, which you definitely don't fancy, there is no way to cross the river here. Ahead of you, an unearthly grey cloud streaked with gouts of livid green flame appears between two hills. This is obviously the source of the pollution. Then you come across a series of platforms which resemble stepping stones across the river, except that they are bobbing on the surface. When you make for the green cloud, try to cross the river on the bobbing platforms. There might be some animals, of course. Or retrace your steps and head downstream. So we have cloud, 269 platforms. I'm going to do the bobbing platforms. I know they're going to be some living creatures are going to be messing me up, but finger bookmarks at the ready. There are 4 platforms with quite wide stretches of river in between them, but each platform is large enough for you to get a good run up in order to jump for the next one. However, since each platform will sink you to the foul water if you linger, you must simply run and jump 4 times non-stop. It makes the crossing progressively harder. Roll 1 dice 4 times. The first time you are successful if you roll 1 to 5. Second, 1 to 4. Third, 1 to 3. Fourth, 1 to 2. If you fall off the first platform, you can swim back to the eastern bank, 2 stamina point loss. If you fall off the second platform, you swim back to the eastern bank to lose 4 stamina points. If you fall off the third platform, you must swim onto the western bank and lose 4 stamina points. If you fall off the fourth platform, swim to the western bank but lose 2 stamina points. If you end up on the western bank as intended, turn to 159. If you end up on eastern bank, you can either try to give up, try again, or give up and head south 220, or investigate the bilious cloud. Okay, so you either go there, or 159. Okay, let's roll the dice for this one. Of course, it's random, but it's just for fun, and then I can sort of decide I will make it. So 1 to 5, yeah, and then there's 1 to 4, no. So I'm stuck on that side. Let's just say for a moment that I managed to get across, and I'm going to go to 159. I could just check out 220 and see if it's easier down there. Okay. It sounds like going south probably is more interesting. So let's just go down to let's go downstream. It's more, yeah. I'm not that interested in the poisonous cloud, really. So as you progress downstream, the river gets more and more sluggish until you are almost keeping pace with the white underbellies of the dead fish in the river. You're walking along a narrow towpath with, on your left, tall gorse bushes that are armed with vicious thorns, and on your right, the oily river. And there, straight ahead of you, are 2 black hearts. These mutations, a cross between dark elves and orcs, occasionally appear in Northern Cool. The 2 facing you are on patrol, and they have no hesitation in rushing forward to deal with you, swinging their jagged scimitars. Luckily for you, the path is so narrow that they can only get at you one at a time. Every time you lose an attack run, roll 1 extra dice. If you roll a 1, turn to 45, so there's some kind of poison going on here, maybe. So let's see, just like that. If you roll a 6, turn to 259. If you win, turn to 271. So 271, win, 45, 1, and 259, 6. So I'm not going to bother with those. I'm going to say that I win. You quickly search the bodies before tipping them into the river, where they immediately sink out of sight. On one of them you find a medallion with an ornate A on it. So 271, medallion A. Showing his allegiance to Arachnos. If you want to take the medallion, decide whether to wear it round your neck or beneath your clothing, or whether to stow it among your other possessions. On the other black heart you find a map which marks the black heart's encampment. The map does not make it clear whether there are any more, or even many more, black hearts back at the camp. If you want to risk a visit to the camp, turn to 386. If you continue south, I think I'm going to wear the medallion proudly and show my allegiance to Arachnos, I think. Oh, my allegiance to Arachnos. If you continue south, turn to 373. If you rather head north, turn to 68. I'm wondering now if this is going to be a little bit sort of big open landscape, north, south, east, west kind of thing going on, and how much space I would need for mapping that out in a way that makes sense. But I'm going to start with 386, go to the camp. Camp, and then we have, I'm going to move that over here. So we have 68 go north, or 373 south. Okay, I'm going to check out the camp first, 386. The encampment lies a little way to the southeast. There are no guards, and it seems that the 2 black hearts you killed were based there alone. However, you find little of interest. You decide not to take any of their food, which to you looks and smells repulsive. You do notice a piece of broken stone with an S on it, so that's interesting. So we got 386, stone S. But you don't know what to make of that. Leave and return to the riverside, where you can now continue south or north. So we have like so. So now I'm going to go south or north. So north, we know there's some pollution going on. Maybe that's to do with maybe that sort of unsavory place is exactly where somebody evil like Arachnos might hide. I'm going to start south anyway, which will give me an indication whether I should keep going south. You have been following the river for a while when a slight movement in the bushes to your left attracts your attention, and you turn your head towards it, which is precisely how spit vipers always get their victims. A large snake spits a ball of acid through the air at your eyes. Test your luck. Again, luck test, loads of them in this one. So not pit vipers, but spit vipers. So that's an interesting name there. 1, 2, 7. Looks lucky. Unlucky. I'm going to say I'm lucky, of course, even though my luck would have been starting to run out a little bit by now. Only a few drops of the acid splash into your eyes. Reduce your attack strength by 2 points for this fight only, but still 4-4, so quite a weak opponent. If you win, you hurry on until you come to a place where the river is fordable. You can either wade across the river here or continue south. I thought I was already on the right side of the river. I'm in the correct side. Wasn't I? Why am I trying to cross it again? That doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to ford it in that case because I don't know what's going on here. Ford 14. If now the book is confusing something and thinks that I'm on the wrong side, I'm going to ford it. There is deep water on either side of the ford, and in places the shallows are clogged with the river's foul debris. But the ford is still broad enough for you to walk confidently along it. It's also broad enough, however, to offer a secure footing for the Granachin. It sounds like it should be a Granachin, doesn't it? Yeah. Which lives in the river beside it. The monster rises out of the depths, dripping slime and weed, and its talons reach on sinewy arms for your throat. That's quite a nasty-looking monster there. If you have a throwing knife, you can use it before you fight to reduce the creature's stamina. Maybe that's something you can buy in the market. I'm just guessing now. If you win, you make it safely the rest of the way to the western bank. I was already on the western bank, so this is weird now. Did I do something wrong earlier? And I'm quite sure I chose that I would go. Oh, I went to the wrong thing. I was supposed to go to 159 earlier to go to the Western Bank, and then I chose the wrong. Okay, I see what happened there. Okay, fair enough. Okay. So that's not where I was intending to go, but that was interesting nonetheless, and I found something that may be interesting, little hints for something or clues to something. So I'm going to go now to 159, which is the West Bank. The shadows are lengthening as you trudge up a ridge and look down onto another valley below. Will you camp until morning or press on through the night? So 277 camp, 246 press on. I'm going to camp actually for the night, 277. During the evening, the mists come down and you spend a chilly, restless night huddled under a low bank at the western foot of the ridge before continuing on your way in the mid-morning. After the sun has broken through, and dispersed the cloud. Will you go north, south, or west? Okay. I'm wondering now if I should turn the page, actually. I suspect there might be some map going in different directions possibly here. So, and I don't know which directions go where. So I'm going to start here. So this is the river, of course, on the right here. And I'm going to start here. That's 277. And then I'm going to go, so that's north, south, or west. Okay, so that makes sense, doesn't it? Since I can't go east at this point. 379. And this is possibly where I've heard that there are some paragraphs that is just north, south, west. There's nothing else going on. I'm going to start by going west. The mist descends again, but you are walking up a slope, so you carry on, hoping that at the top you will break through into sunshine. Anyway, if you carry on climbing in as straight a line as possible, you can't go wrong, can you? Famous last words. Of course, the thing is, if you can't see, for instance, because of mist, and you start walking, it is almost impossible to walk in a straight line. And this is because almost everyone and even those who do actually, almost everyone has a dominant foot. And if you have a right foot dominant, you will tend to turn towards the right, I think, and circle back. And if you're left foot dominant, you might circle towards the left. And it's really, really hard to keep a straight distance if you can't see. And anyone who's done orienteering, me included, knows that it is really, really hard to keep going straight, even if you can see. This is why one of the reasons you use a compass, to make sure and double check you actually are on your correct course all the time. Especially the minute you start have to turn around something, and if you're just off by a degree or two, that's enough to actually throw you off your direction quite a lot. So what you do, of course, when you navigate in direct lines, is you try to find a feature, a tree or a rock or a hill or something on your sight line of where you're going, and then you run for that, and then you do a new check to find a new feature that you can follow. If there are no features, you just have to look at your compass and try to keep as straight as possible, but you have to check it every few meters to keep going. So it's really hard to go in a straight line, a lot harder than people think, I think. They did test this on Mythbusters with blindfolds, and they found that it was practically impossible to walk in a straight line blindfolded. So there you go. Yes, 8. The mist descends again, but you are walking up a slope, blah, blah, blah. The slope isn't particularly steep, but a terrible weariness overcomes you and you feel as though you want to sleep. Test your luck again. I think there's too many luck tests in this one. Either that or I'm a complete... Because even, I mean, it feels like I am on sort of the correct path. And normally on a correct path, you wouldn't have this many luck tests because you run out of luck. And then it's... Yeah. Anyway. So I'm going to do my luck test there. So 81 or 295. Lucky and 81. Lucky. Okay, so I'm going to say that I'm lucky again, even though my luck would have been down to, what, 8 now or something, even if it started at 12. Still more than 50-50 chance of being lucky, but yeah. Oh, hang on. Is that the right lucky? Just double checking now. Yeah, you both, yeah. When you wake up, you are still walking, although your mind recalls nothing. Okay, so I've been walking without noticing then. Your muscles know that you have been sleepwalking for hours. So I could be anywhere now. You are lucky to be suffering nothing worse than exhaustion. Deduct 2 stamina points. Still, at least the mist has dispersed now, but where are you? Turn to 379. So I'm going to move... Oh, 379, that is over here. I know where I am, actually. Okay. So walking in a circle, there you go. I'll circle back towards the north. You're walking through a valley, bleak hills rise to either side. You have a strong sense that you have been here before, or maybe it's just that one piece of moorland looks much like another. The sun on your right is climbing in the sky, but it cannot dispel the fear in your heart as to what may lie ahead. Will you carry on or turn around? So turning around is going south now, so south, north, west, or carry on, so that's further north. Now, at this point, you just forded the river. Really, really, you should have the river there as a sort of a fixed point, or fixed line, I should say. So I'm going to carry on. That is to go north. 3, 2, 1. I like how at this point you're not given directions, except, of course, you should have seen the river. So you begin to see skeletons, complete or in fragments, littering the slopes on either side. Most of them are animal skeletons, but some are clearly human or humanoid. Wait, that one didn't move, did it? Surely that hand didn't slide along the ground towards that wrist, then click into place. Would you make a run for the ruined farmhouse you can see ahead at the end of the valley, as seen in the picture, or stand and face the rattling horde of human skeletons you now see gathering around you? Okay, so we have... So that was 3, 2, 1, and we can now go to 3, 5, 1, or we can Go 2, 1, 2, 4. So hold. I'm going to go for the farmhouse. If the total rolled is less than or equal to your current stamina score, you make it safely. Did I say anything about rolling a dice now? I think there's something missing from this bit. They should say roll 2 dice. If the total roll is less than or equal to your current stamina score, you make it safely to the ruined farmhouse. If the total is greater than your stamina, the skeletons catch you out in the open and tear you to pieces in seconds. So it sounds to me like if you wait here, you will definitely die. Just double check now. 1, 2, 4 should be an end paragraph. No. This looks like there is actually. Anyway, looks like there might be a colorful ending there as well. 351 house. Skeletons have armed themselves with rusty tools that were lying around the farmyard. Once you have defeated them, blah blah blah, the remainder become strangely listless. Their arms drop to their sides, their weapons clatter to the ground, and they crumple in piles of bones on the cobbled yard. Okay, that is kind of odd, but there you go. So, when you search the ruined farmhouse, head north or go back southwards. So again, I have the option of going back south, or I can go north, 263, or check out the house, which is what I will do, of course. 391. You have disturbed the horror which has made the ruins its home, and which is the cause of all the skeletons on the hillside. Once the chief servant of Arachnos, it grew too strong, so Arachnos posted it out here to guard the borders of his domain. But it has grown fat and lazy, and now it hates to have its rest disturbed. The Pantaflex uncoils its tentacles and oozes out of the basement towards where you are rummaging through a cupboard. A slight sucking noise alerts you, and you turn around to confront a creature out of your worst nightmares. Tentacles sprout from what should be its shoulders, and webbed feet squelch with mud from the basement pool. Piercing eyes glare at you from above a beak-like mouth. The tattered remnants of others' clothing cling to its body, and it is surrounded by the stench of its hoard of rotting flesh. By the time you turn from your looting, it has blocked the exits with its tentacles, so you will have to fight. In the unlikely event that you win and gain your freedom out of the farmhouse, you can either head north or turn back and make your way southwards. So it sounds like searching also no point really, because you don't gain anything from it. So it's north or south. But if this is the outpost, that means that I'm heading in the right direction, surely. So I'm going to keep going and say 263. Because otherwise it's in the wrong place, isn't it? Then it should have been south. Yeah. The slope going north beyond the farmhouse turns out to be steeper than it looked from a distance, and it is covered with loose stones and slate. You keep causing little avalanches on your way up, and your hands are soon covered in scratches. At one point you slide several meters back down the slope, and you are forced to pause, gathering your strength. Will you give up your attempt and go back down the slope? Turn to 156, or will you carry on? So let's see. So 156, give up, or 287, carry on. 287. Your struggle up the slope costs you 1 stamina point in cuts and bruises. When you reach the top, you find that this is just the first in a series of ridges extending to the north like the bow waves of a boat. You have committed yourself to an arduous journey. You must eat 1 meal from your provisions here just to keep your strength up. But but it does not restore any stamina points. On each of the next 2 days, as you struggle northwards and slightly to the west, following the contours of the land, you will have a hostile encounter. Roll 1 dice twice to find out from the list below what you must fight. If you survive all the hazards of the Hopeless Hills, turn to 69. Okay, so I'm going to say that I do survive all of those, although it sounds like this is the hard way through. Excuse me. Right, I am back from the phone call. Also had a little break, went to the loo, different things. Okay, so I'm supposed to carry on and go to 69. Let's see, 69. You are walking through the land of the Flintskins. Really? Really? Is somebody trying to break the immersion in this game? A primitive tribe which has survived for many centuries in these parts. A party of about 20 of these sturdy, pale-skinned hunters ambushes you. They are well armed with spears and bows. Will you fight or not? Fighting sounds like a bad idea. Sounds like it's a better idea to come up with plan B. If I fight, I'm sure I will die. 166 fight. Or 389, not. So I'm not going to fight. They approach cautiously, glancing warily at your sheathed sword. You think to yourself that there must come a time when the odds will be in your favor, so you let them blindfold you, truss you up, and haul you off to their village some kilometers away. This cluster of about 30 huts occupies the end of a ravine, which is accessible only through a narrow pass and so is easy to defend. As soon as you enter the village, your blindfold is removed. So how did you know that? How did you know that before your blindfold was removed? And you are surrounded by a crowd of curious women and children. They chatter away in a nasal language you have never heard before. The men drag you to a stout pole in the middle of the village square and tie you to it. Although you are still fully equipped, you are very securely tied up. As day gives way to night, a large bonfire is lit near you. People disperse to their evening meals, leaving only 2 men to stand guard over you, and you see the elders of the village go off into a large hut nearby. Will you take the opportunity to try to escape, or will you wait? Now, I don't know what they're planning to do with me, but it doesn't sound like it's good. So, uh, 160. Wait, or 316 escape. So I'm going to try to escape. If you have either a throwing knife or a piece of sharpened flint, turn to 37, otherwise turn to 63. So I can't escape. It sounds like so. Throwing knife or flint, 37. But I don't. 63. So you double up as if in pain. You retch, grunt, and grimace. The guards get the message. Something is wrong with you. But do they believe you? Test your luck. Again. If you're lucky, turn to 101. If you're unlucky, the guards laugh scornfully at your feeble attempt to trick them. They make doubly sure your bonds are secure. Turn to 160. So 101. The guards notice what you are up to. They untie you from the pole and manhandle you in the direction of the elder's hut. If you want to try to escape at this point, turn to 112. If you let them take you, turn to 352. Ugh. Okay. escape again. The thing is, I'm not sure if they consider me hostile, or they're just a bit unsure. I'm not being treated as a guest, that's for sure. I'm going to try to escape. See how that goes. Roll 3 dice. If the total is less than or equal to your current stamina score, turn to 191. Otherwise, turn to 129. 129. 191. Okay, so stamina. Let's say I made that one, so 191. You succeed in breaking out of their grip. You quickly knock one guard unconscious with a blow of your fist, then draw your sword to face the other, who is swinging a hatchet. If the fight is still in progress after 4 attack rounds have been completed, more flintskins are beginning to emerge from their huts. Turn to 166. If you win before 4 rounds are over, turn to 238. Let's say I do that. 166, 4 plus, 238, 1, 2, 3. You pause, hardly daring to believe that no one heard the fight, swift though it was, but nothing stirs. Do you now leave the village as quickly as possible or prowl around? Well, there might be something useful here, I suppose. So, 302. Leave. I'm going to prowl around a little bit. I'm going to have to test luck again, aren't I? Yeah. Will you approach the Elder's hut, turn to 360, or one of the other huts, turn to 198? Of course, I'm going to do the Elder's hut. Elder, others. I'm going to check out the Elder's hut. We get close enough to hear heated conversation going on inside, but since you don't understand the language, this gets you nowhere. You estimate that there are maybe 10 flintskins inside. Will you leap through the doorway and attack? Go to 166. That's the same as more people approaching. Go to one of the other huts. Grab a flaming brand from the bonfire and throw it onto the thatched roof of the Elder's hut, basically murdering them. Or sneak out of the village. 302. Well, I'm not supposed to be a very nice guy in this one. They were not treating me nicely. I'm not going to treat them nicely. The roof burst into flame with a satisfying roar, and soon the elders are pouring out of the hut, coughing and half blinded by the smoke. You laugh silently to yourself from your vantage point behind one of the other huts. You're about to leave the village when you see one of the elders hesitate, then dash back into the smoke-filled hut. Will you follow him? Turn to 120. So you forgot something really important then. That's interesting. Or make your escape while the village is in chaos. I'm going to follow him because there might be something really interesting to be found inside the smoke and the hut. You crouch down and run into the hut. Luckily, nobody spots you. Your eyes immediately smart and fill with tears. You can hear the Flintskin fumbling around, then you see his outline at the other end of the smoke-filled room. He picks up something from the floor and grunts in satisfaction. You knock him to the ground and grab whatever it is he went back for. Will you now try to barge through the mud wall at the back of the hut or leave by the proper entrance? Turn to 376. So, I think maybe I'll make my escape through the back. Although, considering the fact that this is probably Wattle and Daub, I shouldn't be able to break through the back, to be honest. But there you go. If your current stamina score is less than 12, and the time you spend trying to break through the wall, you succumb to the smoke and flames, and your adventure is over. If your stamina score is currently 12 or over, you manage to break down the wall and escape through the village, which is now in a state of chaos. When you find time to investigate your trophy, you will see that it is a small branch of an ancient ebony tree. About 30 centimeters long, with a silver hexagram protruding slightly from one end. The branch also has the number 158. So we have clue 194. So branch, hex, and 158. It was evidently an important village totem. Now turn to 302. So 302 is up here. There we are. Just double check now, see what happens if you try to go out the front. I'm sure you'd have to fight someone at least. Yes, you have to fight someone actually. Oh. And interestingly, if you go out the front, you don't actually get the clue, which doesn't make sense because you already picked up the thing, didn't you? That doesn't make any sense. So there's another continuity flaw there because you already picked up the thing. You should be able to examine it also after getting out the front and fighting those people. But that means that going out the front is the wrong option. And going out the back is the right option in this case, and then 302. So I'm going to presume this is an essential clue. Now, there is, of course, a possibility, I went north now, that if I'd gone south, I might have picked up some other clues and then been able to go back north again, because that seems to be how this game is structured now. And so it isn't certain that, even though this is certainly a crucial clue, that it is going to be the correct path I have been following. So I don't know that. But 302. Test your luck. Again. If you're lucky, turn to 276. If you're unlucky, turn to 203. Where do I put these? So I'm going to put them over here. So let's see, unlucky, 203, and 276. Lucky. So I'm going to be lucky and go to 276. The mouth of the ravine through which you must go in order to escape is guarded by 2 flint-skin warriors. You will have to defeat them both to get through, but their posts are some distance from each other, so you can fight them one at a time. If you win, you are free. Turn to 16. When there is no certainty about which way you should turn, how do you decide? Some crows are wheeling in the air in the distance to the east, so you head in that direction because at least something is happening there. It turns out that the crows are circling in anticipation of a feast of human flesh, which is the kind Coolian crows prefer. Standing at the rise of a low hill, you look down on a man slumped against a solitary lightning-blasted tree. He is terribly wounded, but is still just alive. Where are his assailants? This could be a trap. Will you look for his attackers, or go down straight away to see if you can help? I'm wondering if... yeah, no, I'll just keep on the same map page for now. So 193, 344. I can't see how that would be a trap, because how likely is it that anyone will actually be out here? So I'm going to go and help him. You are about halfway down the slope when the savage troll orc, yeah, sprints out from cover and races down the hill towards you, a spear tucked under his arm ready to impale you. If you have some sallow seed oil, turn to 328, otherwise turn to 223. Again, sallow seed sounds useful. 328 or 223. No. Sallow seed. I don't have that. Still don't have that. You will have to fight the troll orc. Okay, 7, 8. If you win, go to 27. The man is dead when you reach him, and I can tell you nothing now. Night is beginning to fall. You have come from the west, so will you now head north, south, or east? So, I'm right in the middle of nowhere now. I'm just going to go up to a new page now because I have an inkling this could get very confusing if I'm... So I come from the west and I'm not heading west anymore. So that means that I should 55 number start on the west side of the, or the left side of the page here maybe, and then go like so. So I'm going to put in, that's 27, and $289 north, 57 south, or 246 east. Let's go north, 289. I was generally going in the northern direction when I got taken by the flintskins. In the livid glow of a Deathmoor sunset, you come to an ancient door set in the hillside. Although it clearly originates in the lost civilization which once populated this land, you are certain that it is now the entrance to Arachnos' hideout. You study in particular the 3 depressions in the door. If you have the 3 keys necessary to get in through the door, you can work out where to turn to next. Otherwise, you leave to look for another way in. Turn to 246. Okay, so here there is a hidden paragraph. Now, it says you need 3 keys. I've got one of them, which is the stone I picked up with the branch. I had something with a hex symbol on it and 158. Maybe this is where I can check 158 and see what happens if I do 158. But I'm just wondering if it says 3 keys, so I'm not sure if that should help. Other way. Let's see 158 and see what happens. No, so that's not it. So obviously the numbers from the different keys would have to be combined to gain access. So obviously there's 2 keys missing at this point. 246. Let's see if there is another way that actually is another way. You struggle on as best you can as deep night falls and the mists come down, but to no avail. Half-seen, half-recognized shapes loom eerily glowing out of the darkness, while fine moisture soaks you to the skin. The ghosts of Deathmoor lure you to your death over a cliff end. So you need the 3 keys, otherwise there is no way onwards. That means that this branch you get from the flintskins, I want to keep saying skinflint, from the skinflints, that is actually a super essential thing. This is actually one of the keys to Arachnos' lair. but you need the other 2 keys. So I found the key in the Flintskin's place. So the question is, where else is it I can go? Is south after you cross the river, I suppose, is the next way. So how is our timing now? Shall I just press on? Maybe I'll make this a new episode. Okay, so I'm going to make this the end of this one episode, and then I'm going to just continue from here on. So the next episode will just be a pure continuance of this one, with a small preamble, of course. So I don't want to make my videos too long, even though I suppose I could just merge them all together, but I might need a break myself. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. I actually quite like this one. I've heard some people saying it's a bit sort of half-hearted and not, I don't know, so far it seems okay, even though finding 3 keys to get into a lair is a bit bog standard, isn't it? But still, it's I've enjoyed it. I enjoy the writing. This is Robin Wakefield, what's his name again? Robin Waterfield, and I quite like all his books. The way it's written is quite nice, although I know that he can do more fancy stuff. His style of writing appeals to me. Let's see how that goes. So I'm gonna finish up now, and thanks for watching. And you know how to support my channel. I'll leave you to do that, and it would be much appreciated, because if people do that, I will actually make more videos. But thanks anyway. Goodbye for now. Bye bye.